box 13 to 15, state tax withheld. So if you don't want to partake in the service pack update, many of our clients have just asked us to modify the 1099 forms for them. Either way, it's time that needs to be taken to make things right. I just suggest getting on the latest service pack or hotfix, and this will be taken care of for you. So some additional important points to remember. For Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013, there is, and these are new features, separate 1099 address ID field on the vendor card, additional box numbers added for each tax type, and then additional fields on the 1099 details window. So if you're on 2013, GP 2013, go take a look at some of this functionality. You can edit the transaction information window per transaction. And then there's an update 1099 information utility that has options for not a 1099 vendor tax type. Print 1096 summary form. That's a nice new feature with GP 2013. So I guess if you're on GP 2010 and you don't have these features and you'd like to get on 2013, now's probably a good idea to update to the latest, not only service packs, but the latest version. Payables, when should the year-end close be done? We've got calendar and we've got fiscal year routines. That should be run either at the end of the calendar year or end of the fiscal year prior to posting transactions in the new year. And I hear it every year. How am I supposed to do that? And again, if at all possible, post everything for the prior year, so through 12/31, and then you can run a check run in early 2015, excuse me, and just make sure you don't post that. Then do your year-end close. So again, this is just a sub-module. It's not going to affect your general ledger in any way. So try to consider running this pretty soon after the year-end. What does the year-end close process do for payables? In the vendor yearly summary window, the calendar close transfers the 1099 amount from the year-to-date column to the last year column in the amounts since last close view. And the fiscal year transfers all other amounts from the year-to-date column to last year column. Again, there are ways to get reports in SmartList. If you choose not to do this or have not done it in the past, we can talk about our options, pros and cons for either closing this or not closing this on the year end. What steps to take? Again, post all transactions for the current year. Make sure transactions for the new year are saved but not posted. Make a backup and then follow the KB article 875169. Important points to remember for payables. Again, payables is not fully date sensitive, so it's recommended that you process your year-end closing routine at the actual year-end. So what that means is if I've posted, into 2015 some 2014 data, it's going to move it back into last year's bucket. So that's why we don't want to do that. It doesn't know whether it's 2014 or 15. It's just based off of the time that you do the actual year-end close. Vendors should be marked as 1099-able at the time transactions are posted or paid for 1099 information to populate correctly. There is a KB article to correct this. You can do it individually through the cards purchasing 1099 details. At the end, I'm going to show you another way to do this. There's a utility through the Professional Services Tools Library, the pistol tool, that will allow you to do this. So important things to remember about payables, because this is typically the biggest closing pain point for most clients. In Microsoft Dynamics 2013, again, a separate 1099 address ID field on each vendor card, additional box numbers added for each tax type, additional fields on the 1099 details window, and the new functionality to edit the 1099 information. Includes editing the 1099 information window per transaction and updating the 1099 information utility, and the capability to print the 1096 form. There's also a video that will show you the year-end close, and that's included here. So, all right, we move on to fixed assets. And I know many of you don't have fixed assets. If you don't, I would encourage you to get that into GP. We can do an import of all your fixed assets. So just let us know if you'd like to implement that. When should it be done? Fixed assets here and close should be processed after payables management is closed and before closing the general ledger. Each book can be closed separately, but all books must be closed before you can do any processing in fixed assets for the new year. So this is something you have to do. What does it do? In the Asset General Information window, cards, fixed assets in general, the year-to-date maintenance amount is cleared from the Expand Last Maintenance Date window. The quantity is copied from the beginning quantity field in the Expand Quantity window. In the Asset Book window, cards, fixed asset, and book, the year-to-date depreciation amount is cleared. The cost basis is copied to the Begin Year Cost field. Life-to-date depreciation is copied to the Begin Reserve field, and the salvage value is copied to Begin Salvage field. So again, just moving amounts from one bucket to another. What does the year-end close process do? In the book setup window, the current fiscal year is increased for each closed book. What steps should I take to close the year? You must depreciate all assets through the last day of the current fixed assets year before you close the year. So make sure you do that depreciation. Print all reports that you will need for the year you are closing, especially important for GP10 and 2010. Make a backup. I can't say that enough. Follow the KB article, and it's called the Year-End Closing Procedures for Fixed Assets Management module in GP. Analytical accounting, not widely used, but some of the folks online here today do use analytical accounting. It's really processed through the general ledger, but I just want to talk about what happens when you do the general ledger year-end process with AA and analytical accounting. It will automatically move the open year data to the historical tables. This is key if you have any special reports written that pull from these AAG analytical 30,000s, it will move them into 40,000. So any SmartList builders, SmartList query designers, SQL reporting services reports that have specifically been written on open transactions versus historical would be greatly affected by this particular year-end close. It will update your AA tables with a BBF, a balance brought forward entry to match the BBF and GL. Any dimensions marked to be included in year-end close will be consolidated and tied to a BBF entry. That is on your dimension card in AA. So you want to take a look at that to be sure that it's included in the year-end close. What steps should I take? There's a KB article here. There are scripts to check against AA data against GL. Steps to mark AA dimensions to be consolidated during the year-end close. And then a utility to move historical AA data, a historical year to history, one-time process for customers that were upgraded where the last close process was done on GP10, Service Pack 1 or prior. I don't know if I have clients on the call today that pertain to that, but just keep that in mind. And important points to remember on the analytical accounting year-end is AA automatically closes with the general ledger. Management reporter, the data mart, does read from AA tables if you are using analytical accounting. And I know that this has been a pain point for some of you folks with AA that have been running it for a long time. It's displaying incorrect data. My understanding is that this has been fixed with a future release of Management Reporter. So that's a different topic, but we can talk about, those that aren't on Management Reporter, the financial report writing tool that replaced FRX, we can talk about getting that re-implemented. Make sure AA Analytical is installed and enabled on the workstation where the GL is being closed. If you're performing this at the server and you did not install AA at the server, be very careful there because it won't close out. And there's the backup again. So general ledger. Again, this is obviously critical for many, many reasons. And it's typically the last thing, except for payroll, that you will process at the end of a given year. It does not have to be done on like the other, receivables or payables. It is date sensitive. So the general ledger year-end close should be done after you have completed the year-end close process for all other modules. The other modules, except for payroll. Other modules should be closed in the following order: inventory, receivables, payables, and fixed assets. So for the GL, what does the year-end close process do? The routine moves all open year transactions from the GL 20,000 to the GL 30,000. In plain English, that is open transactions move to historical transactional table. Again, if you're running any special report off of these tables and you're not seeing correct data after you do the year-end close, we may want to check to see if these tables are, if it's pointing to an open table where you just closed it and you no longer get the data you're looking for. Creates a balance brought forward. First of all, I should say that no users can be in the system for this year-end close. It creates a balance brought forward journal entry, and they are created in the GL 20,000. This is your opening balances, balance sheet accounts typically. It will remove inactive GL accounts without a balance or history. And GP 2013 will also allow you the capability to clear out unit accounts, the statistical counts, if appropriately marked. The balances for all balance sheets are rolled forward to the new year. So if you're not sure why, when you print a January 2015 financial report, that your balance sheets are not rolled forward, you have to do the year-end close. The beginning balance in the new year for the balance sheet accounts will be the same as the ending balance from the prior year you are closing. The profit and loss accounts, P&L accounts, are rolled into retained earnings accounts or fund accounts if you close to one retained earning account, or with the amount from the P&L account in that division if you close to a divisional retained earning account. What that means is if you have a fund or a specific segment in your chart of account that you want to close out to each of those segments, we can close out to divisional retained earnings account or divisional fund account based on the fund that the original transaction was posted to. So, we need to make sure that you have a retained earnings account for each of those divisions. P&L accounts have a zero balance at the beginning of the new year. I'm going to talk about at the end and give you a tip and a trick on how to determine if your posting types are set up properly. Some of you have closed your year only to find out that you had miscoded a balance sheet or a P&L and it didn't close out properly. And if you've ever experienced that, you know that it's very painful. So I'll show you the tip and the trick at the end of this presentation, and it's very easy to set up and easy to identify. The fiscal period tables are updated to mark the year just closed as a historical year. It automatically closes analytical accounting and the year-end close report prints. You cannot reprint this. So when it pops up for you to print, make sure you print it. GP 2013 does allow you to change printers. So if you're not on 2013, make sure that you've selected your printer before, or the file before you do this process. Here's a KB article, the year-end closing procedures for GL in Microsoft Dynamics GP. And if there are errors or issues, if any error pops up, best to restore from the backup, or the backup that you made, and call us, call GP support, Microsoft, whomever, but those errors are going to cause further issues. I will tell you that right now. GL year-end close points, important points to remember. Make a backup. Again, don't bypass errors. Follow all the steps in the KB article included here. Have all other users out of Dynamics GP when you perform the year-end close, immediately after making that backup. Don't do the backup in the morning, work part of the day, kick them out, then process. If you don't do it immediately, whatever work was done that morning or prior to the close and you experience errors, you've lost. And it says to perform the year-end close at the server. That's Microsoft's best practices. You don't need to be at the server. So, but that best practice for Microsoft, I kept it in the PowerPoint. Also, make sure that you have enough free space on the server to allow for the GL 20,000, which is the year-to-date transaction open table, to double in size. It takes the data, it moves it into a temporary table, and then moves it into your GL 30,000 or your historical. So you do want to make sure that you have enough space. Otherwise, you will get errors. And the year-end close routine does appear to hang at 50%, but it is still processing, so just let it run. It does take a little while depending on the number of transactions that you have in there. So don't X out of it. You will cause major issues. There are some important points to remember. There's an issue with the divisional retained earnings checkbox. It will not update the GL 40,000 table if marked and then unmarked. It is fixed in GP 2013, though. So if you're on 2010 or prior, there is an issue with that. Microsoft Dynamics, and the way around that is we can go into SQL and validate which way it's showing, whether it's marked or unmarked. So if you're unsure and you'd like us to check, please let us know. In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2013 or later, you can maintain your inactive accounts in the year-end close window. There's also a progress bar in the year-end close window and the option to clear out balances per unit account. And I encourage you to go take a look at this new features video for the GP 2013 if you're not already on it. Additional related KB articles. Also know that if you have marked to post to a historical year for General Ledger, you can close, and then you can continue posting transactions to last year, which will update not only last year, but it will update your retained earnings account. So this is the only module where you can close and go back and post a historical or a transaction to a historical year that will update this year, but only 1 year back. You can't go back any further. Okay, when should it be done? After all these other modules, inventory, receivables, payables, and fixed assets. That's when the GL should be closed. And it will close all P&L accounts to the retained earnings account, leaving the P&L accounts with a zero balance at the beginning of the new year. All balance sheet accounts are updated with the new year, which will be the same as the ending balance from the year you are closing. And then the retained earnings account or accounts are updated with the amount from the P&L account if you close to one or divisional retained earnings account. Again, we won't reiterate this. We'll move on because we've got to get to payroll and a couple of the tips and tricks. Here's the steps and key points to remember. Historical backup. Make sure you have enough space. Perform year-end at the server. Have all other users out of GP. and then the year-end close routine, as a reminder, does appear to hang, but it is still processed. Additional KB articles. All right, so payroll, what's changed? Supported versions, again, are 2010 and 2013. No tax table updates and no year-end update for GP10 or earlier. The release dates, 2014 year-end update is out. The 2014 tax update round 1 is out. The 2015 tax update round 2 will release in mid-January. So the payroll should be done after all current pay runs are complete, again after making a pay backup, and before processing pay runs in the new year. The payroll year-end close creates a year-end wage file that contains annual wage information used to generate W-2s, W-3s, 1099s, and magnetic media for the year being closed. All right, so what steps should you take that are included in this KB article? Verify that the latest tax update is installed for the year being closed. Complete all pay runs. Complete month, period, and quarter-end procedures for the current year. Make a pre-year-end wage backup file. Install the year-end update. You can do this in November as soon as it's released. And then create the year-end file under the tools, routines, payroll, and year-end closing. Make a post-year-end wage file backup. Verify your W-2s and 1099 statement information. And then optional steps are to print your W-2s and W-3s, print the 1099-R form and the 1096 transmittal form, create the W-2 electronic file, and then archive inactive employee HR information. You do want to make sure you set up the fiscal periods for the new year, and then close fiscal periods for the payroll series for current year. Install the payroll tax update for the new year. Key points to remember that the year-end wage file, if you write any reports or are eager to know where they're held, in these tables, UPR 10100 to 10107. The year-end wage report is in the year-end wage file. You can edit and print W-2s here, and you can create your W-2 electronic file here. Prior to processing pay runs in the new year, install payroll tax update round 1, and it tells you how to get there. And then helpful information for U.S. payroll year-end closing. Canadian payroll, I don't know of anybody on the line here that has Canadian payroll. So in order to get to the tips and tricks and Q&A, I'm just going to skip this. If you, and the release is out, by the way, let me know if you need assistance with a Canadian payroll year-end close. All right. So let's just take a breath for a minute because I've been talking way too much. Any questions on the year-end close? What I encourage you to do is make a backup of your company, restore it to your test company, and process all your year-end just to see what's going to happen when you process that. It's very helpful to see what to expect. So again, I encourage you to do a backup of your live company, restore it to a test company, and if you need our help, let us know with that. But that's a good way to kind of test out all these year-end processes, to see how long they're going to take, if you get any errors with them, so there's no surprises when you do the live close. So a couple of tips and tricks is to run an account smart list to identify incorrect posting types. I'll show you that on the next screen. And then update 1099 information, which is a professional services tools library tool, a pistol tool, or GP 2013 feature. It allows you to update your 1099 vendors who were not set up as a 1099 vendor prior to any payments being made in the current year. You can run this prior to printing the 1099 forms and reports based on a calendar year to ensure that records are paid, that the records paid for 1099 vendors gets updated accordingly. So I encourage you, again, you're going to get the smart list, but this is, and see if I can show you the mouse. Yeah, the mouse is showing here. I've created two. I'm only showing you one. So an incorrect balance sheet posting type and the incorrect P&L. Essentially what you're doing is in your search where your main account segment is between whatever your balance sheet natural accounts are and the posting type is equal to profit and loss. That is an incorrect balance sheet type. So it shows up in my smart list as a profit and loss, but it's cash. That's going to close out in my general ledger. I don't want that to close out. The other nice thing is when you get the smart list, you double click. It brings you right to your account maintenance screen where then you can change it from profit and loss to balance sheet. Save it, refresh your smart list, and it goes away. If you want to do the incorrect P&L posting types, it'll be, you know, my case or the Fabricam company, the 4,000 through 99, well, maybe not 9999 because you don't want your unit accounts to close out, or maybe you do, but just be sure that, you know, you're including the account for your P&L accounts. So it would be 4,000 to 9999, and the posting type would be equal to the balance sheet. Sorry about that, and that's going to give you your incorrect P&L account. Again, let it populate, determine if it's incorrect, double-click on it, change it, save it, and go back. It will save you lots of headaches. Yeah, professional services tools library used to cost, you know, customers X dollars, and it is provided free. It's part of the install process for GP 2013 and later, and it is a free product to you in GP 2010 and GP 10. We can do this in GP 10 as well. If we look at the professional services tools library, you know, this is a great number of items you can do, but we're going to specifically talk about the 1099 modifier. I would select it, and then I click Next, and it brings me to the 1099 modifier little window over here on the right. I can just choose to print the report for a particular calendar year and process. I want to see what changes is this going to make to my 1099, and, you know, is it correct? Again, you can do this anytime just prior to running your 1099s. And then you will be asked, you know, what year. I am choosing just to print the report only, and I click Process. It tells you this process will print a report only. No processing will take place. Had I chosen Process and print the report, it would then do both. So I encourage you to just print the report only, see what the results are, then process and print. Or if it doesn't do what you expect it to do, go and make the appropriate changes to your vendors and come and process again. You can process again and again. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, just going to go through the rest of the screens, and then we're going to open it up for question and answers. So if you have a technical question, email us at gpsupport@ssiconsulting.com. Reasons why this is better than calling us or emailing, let's say, Lisa or Bob or Jeff or whomever at SSI directly, is the GP support goes to about 10 or so individuals, project managers, GP consultants, and our support desk. So everybody gets this. It's just a broader way to get our attention. You know, feel free to contact us individually as well, but GP support is going to give you the best exposure to your issue that you're having. Thank you for attending. I do appreciate your time and attention today. If you do have any further questions, we're going to open up the floor here. But before I forget to say so, happy holidays to everyone, and all the best for a great 2015.
Well, thank you very much, Lisa. This is Patrick. We've had a few questions come in through the chat box, so I'm going to go ahead and read those off to you and let you answer those first before we open the lines up.
Okay.
The question number one was, our fiscal year ends in January. Does fixed assets close on a calendar or a fiscal business year
That is going to be a fiscal year because you've got to post your depreciation entries through the last day of your fiscal year. So that is a fiscal year. Great question.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Lisa. The next question is, what about auditors' adjustments to 2014 after you have closed the year?
Repeat the first part, Patrick, please.
What about auditors' adjustments to 2014 after you have closed the year?
Yep. So I'm switching over to GP. Once I have done the year-end close and provided I have set up in my general ledger, let me get there, there's a little allow posting to history. Okay, so make sure that is checked. All you have to do, well, I say all you have to do, also make sure your fiscal period is open. Tools setup, company, fiscal period for the last, so let's just say these are all closed. What you want to do is make sure that one financial period is closed for the last or whatever period you need to post that entry to. Once you go into General Ledger and you post that transaction, it creates the auditor's adjusting entry into last year, so your financials are properly reflected, and it updates your retained earnings for the current year. So it does two entries, one for last year and one for this year. So if you have closed your year and you do have allow posting to history checks and the appropriate financial box open, you can post General Ledger entries to the closed year. It'll create two entries for you, one for last year, one for this year.
Thank you, Lisa. The next question is, we do not finalize our fiscal year numbers until 9 months after year end. I've been doing journal entries to create beginning balance and not closing out the general ledger for several years. Please advise what I should do at this point.
Because you can create closing entries or post entries to a prior year, I encourage you to close the year, typically, whenever you need to produce the first month's balance sheet, because you can go back and post to that historical year. Even 9 months after the fact, you can go post entries to that historical year. So I do encourage you to close so that you can get your balance sheet balances rolled forward, and you don't have to do that journal entry. And then when you do get your adjusting entries and do the final closeout, you can do so. Also, GP 2013 R2, I believe, or maybe it's 2015, has the capability to reverse a year-end close process. So that could be an option as well. But 9 months after the fact, I would close, normally, and then just allow that posting to history. Make your entries 9 months after the fact to adjust for last year. And if I'm missing the question, please, feel free to, type in after we open the lines, or let Patrick know just to clarify that a little bit further.
Thank you, Lisa. One more question that came in through the box was, we are currently using GP 2010 and will want to upgrade to GP 2013. How long has GP 2013 been out or been released?
GP 2013 initially since, I want to say early March of 2013. I'm going to let Marion, if you're still on the line, just double check that for me, please. But I believe it first came out, but GP 2013 release 2 came out this year, and it is considered, it's really a version release, but it is 2013. So I'm going to let Marion go talk about when it was originally released and then when it will be supported through, if she's still on the line.
Sorry, so we were talking about version 2010?
13. How long has 2013 been out? And then I just wanted to add how long it will be supported through.
I'll check my record. So we can send that out. The So
yeah, let's send that out
state
with the
send out the
PowerPoint. But
information. I mean, it's going to be supported for 5 years, so it'll probably be supported into 2018. It did come out in 2013, maybe at the very end of 2012. Something that everyone should be aware of, however, is that version 2010 will be supported only through October of 2015. So that's a date that everyone should kind of keep in mind.
And I'll just add to that 2015 was just released. We don't like to make our clients be guinea pigs. We let everybody else work out the bugs and the issues. So when the first service pack for GP 2015 comes out, we will consider upgrading to 2015. And I'm sure there'll be a newsletter blast about that probably in the spring or so.
Thank you, Lisa. Another quick question that came in was, how do we go about getting installed or getting and installing the hotfix year-end service pack update? Is it necessary if we just upgrade to GP 2013?
If you upgrade to GP 2013, we will put you on that latest service pack or hotfix. So you won't need to just upgrade to 2013. If you upgrade to 2013, we will get you on that latest hotfix. So it will be all included.
All right. Well, thank you, Lisa. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is unmute all of the attendees. It'll take me just a second to do that. And if you have not entered your audio pin, I will not be able to unmute you, but I will resend the audio pin as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now, Lisa.
Thank you. I'll just add, if you're too shy or you think it's an individual question, go ahead and email myself or Patrick after the presentation. Happy to answer any questions, individually as well.
It would not be a problem at all, and all of the lines are now open, so if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask away.
I have a question. This is Mark Clem from Transmit Foods.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. For the, you had mentioned having a restorable backup prior to doing any closing. Should that be kept in a separate place in the SQL, in SQL where we keep, our other backups? And how long should we keep that restorable backup?
So what I do is I name it, my pre-year-end close backup. I keep it until I'm fully satisfied that, my numbers tie. So I'm running reports immediately after the close. I'm validating data, in your case, inventory items and different types of reports that you guys run to ensure that your inventory is in balance or tied to your general ledger. So I do that validation immediately, and I would keep it kind of tucked aside maybe for a month or so, because we may not be able to restore that backup 100%, but we can pull certain tables or certain data out of there that we can transfer over to GP at the live company if absolutely necessary.
Okay.
Lisa, this is Cheryl Bonanno from Novosom.
Hi.
Hi. Can we
make changes to 1099 vendors after the payables modules close?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep. Because you close the payables module pretty much after, 2014 is closed, or 2014 is transactions have been entered and posted, and before, so you close it, and then, we're typically not running 1099s until the next month, so they can be edited to any point just before you print them and send them out. So that can be done after the payables year-end close, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you again, Lisa, for a great webinar today. It was very informative.
Thank you.
And if there's,
I hope everybody felt the same way.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great holiday, and I look forward to either talking with you or seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
today, great day.